Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. This is January. I'm still quite new to this, but I will try to provide you some value today if you want to study in the Netherlands. And there are 10 things that I wish I knew before I moved to the Netherlands to study. So, first of all, I've been here for almost 4.5 years, so I think by now I have a pretty clear overview of how the university systems here work. I've also studied at 3 different universities so far. I'm currently doing a second master, so for every program I chose a different university. So I think I can give you a pretty good overview of what it's like to study here. So first of all, as a German, what made me come to the Netherlands to study? Well, I'm basically one of those numerus clausus refugees, as we say, because they have very high standards in Germany to enter medicine or psychology. So I figured before I spent 6 or 7 years waiting for a study spot, I will just move abroad. And honestly, it's just a neighboring country. So what can go wrong? Yeah, the first and I think most important point for me was that I had no clue that here the system doesn't function in semesters as it does in Germany. So in Germany, you would usually have a semester of around 4 months. So in those 4 months, you would take around 5 to 6 courses. And by the end of the semester, you will mostly have all of your exams within 1 or 2 weeks. And then over the semester break, which will be around 2 months, well, it's not really a break because you still have papers to hand in, but you don't have classes at most universities in Germany, at least at the public universities. I don't know how it goes for the private ones. So, yeah, well, that's what I didn't know. And it can be pretty challenging at times because you don't really get to have a break in between all the courses that you take, which was definitely different when I still studied in Germany for a few semesters. So that was thing number one. Point number two. Even if you go abroad to study with a lot of people from different countries and you decide to go to the Netherlands, especially to the south of the country, as they state they have the most international university in the entire country, don't be surprised if you end up meeting a lot of Germans, especially if you go to study psychology. So, yeah, I thought that more than half in my degree were Germans, which is not bad in general. Just it's something that I didn't think about before I came to the Netherlands. I thought it will be more international students from a lot of other countries. Let's move on to point number three. So, point number three is exams and assignments. In Germany, we don't usually have everything in multiple choice questions, but here it's a pretty common thing, at least at the universities and research universities that I can speak for. So most of the exams that I undertook were exams of around 40 to 50 multiple choice questions, out of which you have to pass, out of 40, you would have to get 28 right in order to pass. And then, the differences are really huge depending on how many you got wrong. One mistake can already make half a mark of difference. So that was definitely something I wasn't aware of. I was much more used to taking open-end exam questions. So yeah, something to keep in mind if you're a person who gets along well multiple choice or not. Something to consider for sure. And also while we had a lot of assignments and projects, often they didn't count towards the grade. It was very often just a pass or fail grade. So yeah, it was basically 100% grade of the exam, and the other assignments didn't count towards it. But of course, that can depend on your program and on your university. Point number four. You will ride a bike anywhere. And well, while I knew that the Netherlands was the country of the bikes, bikes are everywhere and they're the most convenient thing to get you anywhere you want. So be prepared to cycle in a lot of rain and get yourself some kind of protective clothes so that you don't have to spend all day sitting in a lecture hall with your wet clothes on. Very inconvenient, and you will most likely get pretty sick. It happened to me a few times, I'm not gonna lie, but just be prepared to that like even if you you like riding a bike, it's most of the time it's the most convenient and the fastest method to get yourself anywhere. Point number 5. So, something that was really different in Germany was the food in the cafeteria of the university. So, well, not in terms of quality, I must say, but in terms of price. So, I was pretty shocked here that one meal was around 5 euros or like at least 4 euro 50. Well, in Germany, you could get food for as cheap as like 1 euro 80 with a proper meal. So, most of the time, I ended up just cooking my own food at home. And well, it's not a big deal, but it's just something that you have to get used to. And that, to be honest, I didn't expect when I came here. But in general, it's more expensive than Germany. So yeah, also groceries in the stores are more expensive. This brings us to point number 6. While it's something more general, not just related to university, I think like a lot of people are scared of moving abroad because of languages reasons. And while I know that the Dutch were pretty good at languages, I didn't know they were that good. Because seriously, even if I wouldn't have learned a single word of Dutch, I probably would have gotten along really well during all those years. Because almost everyone here is really fluent in English. You can take the whole program, almost anything by now, I would say. You can take any program in English, so you don't have to be scared at all. Up until around 5 years ago, I think many programs were still only Dutch, so you would actually have to obtain the NT2 exam for learning the Dutch language before you could get started at the university. But this has changed due to the large internationalization. So now anything you do, you can do it in English. Point number 7, and this is a very big and important one. The housing market in the Netherlands. So, well, I can only speak for 2 cities so far, like in the south and in North Holland. But, well, it's been equally difficult. So, yeah, basically, before I came here, I lived in other countries and I never had a problem finding a place for myself ever. Like, it was usually pretty simple. But when I came here, everything changed. I had some horrible living situations that I wouldn't wish for anyone. And I don't want to go back in time to those houses, but I saw some pretty bad rooms. And I don't have the highest standards in terms of housing. I just want something affordable for students. But yeah, it was quite shocking to come here, especially in Amsterdam, or I would say probably anywhere in North Holland or maybe South Holland also. It's really difficult to find a place as the city is like the houses are very small and very historic. They have very small and little rooms, and everyone wants to come to Amsterdam or to the big cities here. So it's very overcrowded, and there's a lot of competition for the house on the housing market. Yeah, so be prepared that it can take you 1.5 or 2 months to find a place. And like even then, it might not be affordable. You might be spending at least 500 euros a month, and in Amsterdam, that can go up to 800 euros just for a tiny little room of 10 square meters, sometimes without a window. Yes, those are like stories I heard. And yeah, also some housing even still had problems with rats or like other kind of insects, so that was pretty common here. And like especially in Amsterdam, the houses are pretty old, so yeah, you should kind of expect those problems to be around, even if you pay those horrific rent prices. It's pretty insane, to be honest. So be prepared and come on time, so you have enough time to look for a place for you to stay. This brings me to point number 8 already. So, one thing I wish I knew before I came here, or like even in the beginning of my studies, but I only found it out now, is that you can get a studiefinanciering, so you can like take out a loan, and this will also enable you to get the free traveling, well, it's not free, but a travel product, and that will allow you free travel for the time that you study. But like obviously you do have to pay back the loans. And well, it could have been a pretty useful thing. Like I asked my family to borrow money from them and also use my savings for the past couple of years, and I worked several jobs on the side, but I never applied for the study loans, which now in hindsight is a thing that I probably should have done, because it can be a pretty good deal. So the thing for international students is that you have to work at least 15 hours a week in order to be eligible to get the loans. And with the loans come also the benefits of like the free traveling product. And actually you have a lot of time to pay back the loans. I think it's around 30 or 40 years that you have to pay it back. But yeah, of course, it's never nice to think about those loans if you don't necessarily have to take them out. But yeah, in hindsight, I wish I would have rather like taken out a bit of the money in loans and enjoy like the free traveling product, because yeah, going by train here to other cities is really pricey. And yes, I see a lot of people using that deal to go travel for free anywhere in the Netherlands. They can just like choose either to go travel on the weekdays and then have a reduced price on the weekends, or travel for free on the weekends and have a reduced price on the weekdays. So that comes in pretty handy. Well, obviously depending on like which city you live in. If it's a really small city, like the one that I studied at first, it might not be worth it. But now that I am in Amsterdam, I wish that I would have like made use of that option earlier, because now during my master degrees I don't actually have the time to work that much. And also the situation with the job market is a bit difficult now in times of Corona. But yes, definitely something to consider. Point number 9 already. So this advice is about checking out not just the research universities, but also the universities of applied sciences. Because I often met people who studied at universities of applied sciences who had a great experience there. Like they were able to go on exchange, and although they studied 4 years instead of 3, they had great opportunities to be connected with companies, and they usually took 1 or 2 internships at least. That's something I didn't really consider before I came to the Netherlands, because like in Germany this is also a very common thing. Like either like if you're at university or University of Applied Sciences, it doesn't really matter, but usually people require you to gain a lot of practical experience and internships. While here, those research universities, as the name already says, I guess I should have known, it's not extremely common that you will do an internship. And now in hindsight, I just wish I would have done one during my bachelor studies, because like now, just before finishing my master degree, it's a bit late to figure out whether it's a thing for me or not. And yeah, so I would totally recommend you looking into this. Some of the universities of applied sciences are supposed to be really good, and they also rank really high. So just check that out, and don't just consider the research universities when you come here. And this is the last point, point 10, and this goes about the free time of a student. It's about the study associations in the Netherlands. The Netherlands have a really big culture around those study associations, and almost all the Dutch people I met were in one. Well, while it's a bit common in Germany, it's not such a big deal there as it is here. So I can only compare between those two countries, of course, but here I found it was like really big thing that you have to join a study association, and yeah, even like take part in the hazings, but you really become a part of a core group, I would say, that you will spend the next years with. And I have to say that I didn't join a study association in my bachelor. So yeah, I felt a bit lonely sometimes, and I think things would have turned out differently if I would have joined one of the study associations from the beginning. Well, that can be anything. It could be a sport association, it could be something that's particularly offered from your faculty, from your degree, or just like any other interest you have, maybe theater or something like that. So I would just recommend you looking into that before you come to the Netherlands, so you can make the most out of your study time. I hope you enjoyed my advice. If you have any questions, just hit me up in the videos, and maybe you can give me ideas on what you want to know more about in the future. So yes, I can make a next video about it. Thank you for watching that video until here. Leave a comment or a like if you want, And well, it was a pleasure. This is January, and I'll see you again.